in a situation like where we are here in Halfmoon Bay, you've got to be careful walking out across the rocks at low tide, and not step on living things that of course we want to protect. Then get yourself set up. This is a lighter weight tripod than is probably ideal for this work, but it's nice and portable, so it's what we're using. And you do want to keep it company on a windy day. I have had this blow over on me in the past, which is not very nice, and it would be not very nice at all here in the coastal water. And the next thing you want to do is get level, and there is a bubble level on the top of the Gigapan. With a tripod like this, you want to extend it probably all the way up. And of course, I spent some time figuring out exactly where to go, and it's kind of an optimization problem, because if the time of day was different, we wouldn't have issues with shooting into the sun, but we needed to get here when the tide was out so we could actually see the formation that we're trying to shoot, and there it is, off in its glory. And we're going to get a little bit of sun. I'm going to set it up to go from out that direction to the cement retaining wall over there, roughly, and that'll capture a good chunk of the formation. To do that, you follow the instructions on the Gigapan. The Gigapan sort of tells you a lot about what to do. You'll turn on the camera and remember to take off the lens cap first, because this camera will remind us about that. And turn it off and turn it back on again, and extend the telephoto as far as you want to go. Generally, you want to do the maximum zoom. On this camera, it's a 10 times zoom, and you set up the Gigapan using the Gigapan instructions again on the unit itself. When you power up, you've got some menus you can scroll through. One of them is setup, and it will tell you how to go about setting the Gigapan for the field of view of your camera at whatever zoom you choose to do it at. And essentially you line up you set it on the zoom you want. You then use the Gigapan controls to tilt the camera, and line up the field of view with the top and the bottom of the first one, then the other, to determine the field of view of your camera. I've already done that. We're set at a 3.8 degrees field of view, and so I'm going to do a new panorama, and I click OK. It says set to full zoom, then press OK. So we've set to full view. Set upper left, and then press OK. So I use the controls on the Gigapan. Don't do it without using the controls on the Gigapan, because then you'll ruin the gear system within the unit. And we don't have to go very high here because we're at sea level. And we kind of line it up with the farthest out we want to go to the left, and hit OK. Making sure that the camera's set up the way you want it to before you dig in, of course, and that has to do with setting it to landscape mode and locking exposure, and that's going to vary with the controls on your camera. So I set it to upper left and click OK. Then it tells me upper left corner set, and now set lower right and press OK to set. So this is going to be a long skinny panorama. skinny-ish, not real skinny, because I do want to get a lot of the foreground in here. And click OK. And now that we've set the upper left and lower right corner, it will ask me if I want to show the panorama, and I will, and it will go to the four corners one at a time and then back to the center. So it's moving to the top left corner, and I look through the viewfinder and see if that looks reasonable, and I say, yeah, that looks reasonable, and click OK. Swings me back around to the top right corner, and if that's okay, I click OK. Moves it down to the bottom right corner, and I click OK, and it swings it back over to the lower left corner, and I take a look and say that looks okay, and then it moves it to the center, and I say that looks okay. It's just the edge of that lone rock out there, the smaller of the two big ones. It says press OK to continue. I press OK. I'm going to take 480 pictures, and I say OK, let's go. And it asks me camera on, and I say OK. And balance locked, and I say OK. Exposure locked, and I say OK. Focus locked, OK. It's set on landscape for this one. Flash is off, press OK, and it starts taking the panorama. And it counts down. We're taking column 1, row 1, picture number 1 of 480. And I make sure that it's actually taking the pictures. And it is. It's hard to tell when you're shooting into the sun, but we are up and running, and that's the sort of the gist of it. Obviously, you have to get up and close to it and see the panorama, see the Gigapan, and keep track. It's set to a little over 3 seconds per click of the shutter, and that's probably too long, but if it's too short, then you end up with the possibility of skipped images, and when you skip images in this big rectangle mosaic, you run into all kinds of problems trying to figure out how to do some kind of repair work on that by filling in either a double of an image that's kind of similar to the missing image or something like that. That's no fun. So giving it a little bit longer exposure is the way I've worked around it anyway. And this will take about, for this big a panorama, it'll take about 20 minutes. You can do the math, 480 times 3.2 or 3.5 seconds. I forget what I set it to, but that's an adjustment you can make based on how it works with your camera. And like I said, I recommend making it longer than you think is necessary rather than shorter, because you'll have fewer problems when you go to stitch the panorama. So there's software that comes with the unit, and this unit is, I believe, the middle of the line of either 3 or 4 different Gigapan units. The smallest one just holds little point and shoots. This will hold an SLR, but not an SLR with a big zoom on it. And you can buy those, and they are in the order of a few $100s. There is an educator discount, so look for that. And the website for Gigapan is gigapan.org, where you can see the stitched Gigapans from all over the world. So now we wait.